Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions on a Wednesday afternoon. The good doctor Ellis Whitehead, my partner
Hey there,
in
Danny.
Databril, is
Hello,
back with
everyone.
us today. We hello Ellis, hope you're well. It's going to follow on show from last week where we had Christian in, and I'd like to obviously say really pleased that Christian come in. I always like people that put their neck on the block when it comes to data, always testing stuff because we're not always right, and so. Once he spoke to me about that and we've done the show, it's like I wasn't fully convinced of what I see. So I went to Ellis, obviously, and we pulled up a load of data. So he's going to do a shared screen in a moment. I'm going to quickly share to the group, Ellis, but do you want to give the audience a little bit of background on yourself and then we'll get started?
Sure. Just quickly, Danny and I, we started Databril together 3 years ago, and we're really into everything Amazon, and I like the topic, so happy to be here.
Cool. Right. So do you want to get underway? Should we do you want to start with the screen share?
Well, I'll give a little bit of background and then I'll share
context first. Yeah, let's do the context.
There's not too much to share. It's just a couple graphs. But the key takeaway today is that if your PPC has a competitive conversion rate and generates enough orders, then it will definitely boost your organic ranking. I mean, maybe under some maybe definitely is too much, but that's, as a general rule, it'll definitely boost your organic ranking. So later we can discuss the kind of qualifications, because there can be issues that make this very difficult to achieve. That is the competitive conversion rate and generating enough orders. But if you get those two, it'll help your ranking. And so I'll present a couple charts that I think clearly show this. And the first one is from a new client that we took on a couple months ago. His campaigns were missing some relevant keywords. And so we started pushing ads on these keywords, and within 4 or 5 weeks, the products had reached like organic rank 1 for those. And so I will share the screen here. Let's see where. Share screen, and do you see?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's large enough as well. Is that in full screen mode? Yeah. So we can
yes.
see organic rank, impressions, orders, and spend. Yeah.
Okay, great. So each of these bars represents 1 week of data. And are you also able to see my mouse?
Yes.
Okay. So over here on the far left side, so this is the leftmost column is organic rank. And we're seeing among these bars, the first bar is 8 weeks ago, and each further bar is 1 week closer until we get to last week. And what we're seeing here, organic rank here is measured where the smallest bar is rank 1, so the best you can get. And we start off with higher ranks. I mean, it was already ranking okay organically on these keywords before we began, but we start off with much higher ranks on the left side 8 weeks ago. And as the weeks progress, we get down in all 3 of these cases to rank 1 and basically stay there. And so the next 3 columns are impressions, orders, and spend. And here, the higher the bar, the more impressions, the more orders, the more spend. But we can also see here how on the left, we have the smaller bars, lower impressions, lower orders, lower spend. And as we're going to the right, progressing through the first month or so that we had the client on, these numbers were increasing, and they eventually plateaued around about the time that we reached organic rank 1, because what more can you do from there, right? So in all 3 cases, impressions increased, orders increased, spend increased until they plateaued, and we stayed around the organic rank of 1. So that's the first one. Do you have any Any
Well,
questions
let's
before I
talk
move on?
structure of the campaigns. What was your approach to it? Obviously, we're looking at top of search and everything else, but do you want to give a rundown for people that are listening back, the approach that you took in order to make sure that these, or plan for these to rank by, in terms of thinking about ad position, conversion rate, like you said, is very, very key to have a very good competitive conversion rate. Then you've got to think about market velocity as well. Can you achieve those sales with PPC?
Right. So starting at the beginning, we created campaigns that just had a single keyword for a single ASIN. And so I think there were how many ASINs that we were either advertising? I think we were advertising three ASINs on each of these keywords, and one of those was kind of the main one. And yeah, one of them was the main one. So we had the highest bids on that main one. And so there were a total of 3 ASINs, 3 keywords, 9 campaigns for this. And the advantage of this is that the placement statistics that you get are on a campaign level. And Amazon doesn't, for sponsored products, Amazon only gives you placement statistics on a campaign level. So we want to know what our placement statistics are like. Are we getting top of search? And we want to know this for each individual ASIN. And so that's why we broke it up into 9 campaigns.
Yeah.
And that also lets us better control our top of search bid versus the other placements bid, because that's also on a campaign level. So if you have multiple ASINs and you can't control the boost of your top of search bid independently, because if they're all in the same campaign and you can only control it on a campaign level, well, it'll affect them all the same. Right.
Yep.
Let's see. So that was campaigns. And then you had asked, what are we looking at in terms of conversion rates? So it's important. What we're trying to do is we're really aiming for the best conversion rate we can get. And that best conversion rate is in top of search placement. Because if people have scrolled further down the page, they are likely more browsing, less certain of what they want. And so by the time you get to middle of page, they've already seen a bunch of different products and kind of thought, well, I'll pass this by. And whether or not yours is really that perfect product, or whether maybe they're opening a bunch of different ones in different tabs, or just, window shopping, you're going to have a lot lower conversion rate typically, not always, but typically for middle of the page and bottom of page placements. There are qualifications to that, but that might be a topic.
There always is qualification. There's so many different variables here. Saib says, good question here. Hi guys, are these launched or established ASINs? Do we assume that the listing is very well optimized?
Yes, in this case, the listing is very well optimized, and these are established ASINs.
Yeah, cool. Yep, and next part, in terms of getting the product to break even, what kind of process did you go through in terms of plotting this out? Because obviously it starts to get expensive it can get expensive on launches, and depending on what your target bids and stuff are, or your target ACOS that you're working to. What did you do over that 8 weeks in order to manage that? Once it got to the number 1 position, how was you tapering off? Was it just written because of the algorithms, the way that you do it?
Well, yeah, we had very high bids for these top of search positions. And in this case, we were lucky enough that when it tapered off, or, as it settled, that it's okay. We have a slight loss, but it's worth it for the organic rank. We have a slight loss per PPC sale, but it's worth it for having the top organic rank. So it's okay to maintain that, that ACOS that's somewhat above the margin. In other cases, we need to pull back because it's not sustainable. And in fact, in the next graph, we did pull back, and And so I might as well like
Should we get
switch to
into
the
this? Yeah, let's get into that
so
graph. Yeah.
this is another graph, and I just wanted to show something that was from a different tool. This was one of our clients as we were doing this push sent me this graph out of Helium-10 for one of the keywords that we were working on. So here you can see there's a so here 0, there isn't such thing as 0 rank, but 1 is here at the top of the graph. That's the best in this case. So it's the opposite of what we had seen before on my graph, but here the top is the best. And basically the second page is going to be somewhere here, start somewhere above 50.
Yeah.
And so at the time that this started was January 18th of this year. The rank at that particular time was here somewhere around, what is that, 37, 38, something like that. And his rank before that had been, the whole time, in the previous couple of weeks, it had been somewhere in the bottom, typically bottom half of the page to top of the second page.
Yeah.
And so we started pushing. We actually pushed for a whole week, but this, he just sent this to me after the first 4 days. I'm sorry, I said 2 weeks. It had been lower over prior time as well, but this is just a couple days here. So over the next 4 days, we were able to get the keyword up here to the upper half, the first half of the page. The ranking to the first half of the page. The interesting thing about this one is that this particular keyword is not the most relevant keyword for him, but it's a very high volume keyword. And so we did not expect to get a great conversion rate, but the aim was to see, well, I'll bet we nonetheless have a better conversion rate than a lot of these ASINs that are currently ranked above us. And that turned out to be the case. And so we see that it was able to make a definite difference from going from bottom half of the page to bottom, top half of the page. And we've done this kind of experiment with, we've done this sort of thing with this client quite a bit since then, and also with more relevant terms. And it's always worked. And so the thing is, though, is in his case, these are not necessarily, the ACOS is not what he wants to sustain. And so he's choosing to employ this selectively when, for one reason or another, he wants to boost the organic ranking. But we know, yes, we can boost the organic ranking in a very focused way on specific keywords over a period of days or weeks. And so those are just the two graphs I wanted to show, which I think clearly demonstrate that, we start the PPC, and when it has good conversion rates and generates enough orders, then we see a definite and consistent impact on organic ranking.
Yeah. What else did we want to cover here? Because you watched back Christian's show last week, didn't you? So you had some comments there, and then maybe what we'll do towards the end, we'll wrap on some of the key pointers again, because other questions I want to ask you as well, and what your thoughts are, which is beneficial for people, is that what keywords not to go after, because there's going to be certain ones where super high velocity markets, it's going to be a struggle to get enough orders out, and compared to the impressions that are gained and the click-through rates to be expected. So
true.
We can talk about that in a bit, but let's talk about your points on what's on Christian's data as well.
Okay, so I guess first of all, I really want to praise something that Christian said, and that was when he was talking about his about one of his claims that I'm going to say I don't agree with that. At least I don't agree with it in a certain important aspect. He said, to everybody out there, just prove me wrong. I really like to be wrong.
Yeah.
And that's
Good
the
attitude.
best. Yeah, that is the best possible attitude you can have in this field, and in so many fields in life. But especially if it's dealing with data and gaining knowledge from data. And so I'm happy to echo that sentiment as well.
Yeah.
One of his graphs that I really liked, so it showed a product's organic rank dropping, while dropping in the sense of getting worse, while the advertising position became really well established near the top. So I didn't copy this, but do you maybe remember, it's like the idea was
it was it crossed over, didn't it?
Yeah, and he was using it as an example of how you can improve your ad placement over time while losing your organic rank. And so we see that comment too, or we see this phenomenon too. And my main comment about it, though, is actually about going in a different direction. And that's that I think it clearly demonstrates that there are two entirely separate algorithms, one determining ad placement, one determining organic ranking, and the algorithms know nothing about each other. Right. So from what we've gathered, we've talked with people, programmers at Amazon. We have clients who talk with programmers at Amazon. These algorithms are programmed by different teams who don't talk to each other. And so it's just something to keep in mind. Very different algorithms looking at very different things. And when I say an algorithm, sometimes people might not think about there being an ad placement algorithm, but there is, and it's really important. And this is one of the things that can, as you were talking about with really high volume keywords, this ad placement algorithm can make it really difficult to even get impressions at all. And so maybe we'll come back to that. Yeah. Let's see, another thing from something that Christian brought up was that he was saying you cannot buy relevance. And I would like to just point out a way in which you can. So it's not, in some ways you can't, but in some ways you can. And so the way that you can is, well, there are all these different factors that play into organic ranking, but two of them include the order history and the conversion rates for a specific product on a specific listing on a specific keyword. And the algorithm, it's a ranking algorithm. It's going to be comparing how do your orders and how does your conversion rate compare to the competitors. And so if you can generate a bunch of higher conversion rate sales through PPC, then you are gaining points on both of these important metrics. And then, yes, in our experience, as we've seen time and time again, your relevance will absolutely get a boost. Yeah. So let's see. That was the second thing. The third point. Okay, so one of his claims was that Amazon had adjusted the importance of an ad sale versus, okay, hold on. In fact, I have a quote. Quote, it's adjusted the importance of an ad sale versus an organic sale. Okay. Yeah. So for my part, I'm going to reject this claim because we regularly see how pushing ads leads to better organic ranking. We've also looked at the impact of search, find, buy campaigns, and we can compare those to top of search ads. And this is perhaps interesting because search, find, buy was really popular at one point, and there's still people who employ it successfully. So search, find, buy campaigns send stronger signals to Amazon's ranking algorithm than PPC because of the extremely high conversion rate. And so, strong signal, it's just one of the criteria, of course, the conversion rate. You're generating sales, that's one of the criteria, and you have a super high conversion rate. So as long as your competitors aren't also running search, find, buy.
Who haven't got that level of conversion rate, that's where you're going to come out the window.
Right.
If all things are added equal other than conversion rate, then that's going to be the domination part that is going to make the difference.
Yes. And so, but the thing is the ranking often, maybe usually doesn't stick because the conversion rate just drops as soon as the campaign ends.
Yeah.
And
well, people stop using search, find, buy, and then organic sales take over.
Yeah.
Like real organic sales. Yeah.
Right.
So that's going to have impact on the conversion rate. Therefore, in this theory, it would drop.
That metric drops, and so depending on what's happened, like with your general sales volume and all these sorts of things, and with maybe what your ratings are like at the time, then you might be able to stick. Sometimes it can stick, but usually it seems not to. And a nice thing about PPC is that you can employ it anytime.
Yeah.
If you want to put the money into getting those top search positions.
Yeah. The other thing, yesterday we was doing a data breach show yesterday. We were talking about manipulation and where the grey areas, the black hat, grey hat, and all these different things. And I was being quite pedantic about it. But do you agree with me, even though it's legal? Because I had this battle with Sharon, a co-host on the show. She said, no, it's no problem. But do you still consider, even though it's within the realms of Amazon, when we go to our clients, okay, we want to help you rank organically using PPC, we're actually using a form of manipulation with inside the confounds of the rules because we're manipulating. So our intent is, let's do these top of search campaigns with good conversion rates to help with organic rank. It's an intent to misuse the system. And I'm being really pedantic, but where do you sit on that? Because obviously, I can't remember who said it. It might have been Chris or Cam. He said the best way to really determine that is look at the people around you who influence you to determine that. Because we have so many things with grey hat, black hat, this, that, and the other, search, find, buy, using this URL. There's always this constant debate on where the ethical standpoint is it in terms of service and stuff. Where do you stand on that as well?
So I think PPC is a completely legitimate way to influence the algorithm.
Yeah.
This is different. So, I have to say, when I was younger, I would have totally rejected the idea of having an advertising agency. And this is because I really dislike manipulation so much of advertising can be about trying to take advantage of natural human weaknesses for
their gains. Yeah.
And one of the things about Amazon's advertising is there's really none of that there. It's just all we're doing is we're making it possible for the potential customer to become aware of your product. And so this is just as legitimate as, say, maybe there's some summer camp for kids and they have a little poster up in the bus transport or in the bus or something like that. And it's just that's a really good use of advertising because it just lets you know, hey, that's an opportunity. And it's not a manipulation of human weaknesses. And then within Amazon's system, there's not much. Having top of search is the best conversion rate position. Typically, because of buyer behavior, but not because of any particular weakness. We're not taking advantage of a weakness in human psyche there. And so your conversion rate at top of search should be basically the same as your conversion rate at top of organic, more or less. And so if we can demonstrate that you do have a good conversion rate there, then it's completely legitimate to get a better organic ranking as well.
Yeah. Okay. I like the way you presented that. I was just using the words manipulation. I know it's within the confounds. It's just where people grease the edges. They take it from like black hat to grey hat to somewhere in the middle. It's like it comes down to perception, but we are using a form of because it's such a horrible, nasty, dark word, manipulation. But we are, aren't we? We are intent to help get organic rank. Therefore, we can use the word manipulation or not use the word manipulation. I just thought it was quite interesting the way that we can dance around it, but it really comes down to your personal ethical standpoint. And I always say, you go with your gut reaction, because it's the same as we were discussing yesterday about friends and family reviews, right? But then you've got mass black hat. Now, most people will just turn their blind eye. Oh, they done some friends and family. You just move on. You don't.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? But if you say we use this network and then suddenly that becomes really dangerous and black hat. So it's just, where does the ethical standpoint land in the middle? So let's go into some of the problems with ranking certain keywords, especially high velocity products.
Right.
Let's go over some of those.
Yeah, this comes back to the ranking algorithm for ad placements. And the Amazon's algorithm is going to be looking at all the ASINs that want to advertise on a particular keyword. And it's going to, there are only so many ad positions. And there are, of course, a lot of people searching, so they can show different ads to different people, which they do. But there's nonetheless a certain tendency for them to be showing a lot of the same ads to a lot of different people. And in for a high velocity keywords with established ASINs that are already converting well, it can be extraordinarily difficult to break in and get impressions. The most extreme example we have among our clients is a client. He has good conversion rates. So, I mean, his conversion rates are, I don't know, well, they're above 20%, which is really quite good. People listening to this thinking of session percentages, that's a totally different thing. I'm talking PPC conversion rates, which is a much more accurate number. The sessions conversion rates is some kind of fantasy number. It's demonstrably inaccurate. And
I'd like one show. I'd like that, if you've got the data on it, I'd love to pick that apart. We'll do it. We'll save that for another day. Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
So he has a really good conversion rate, but barely gets impressions. And we're bidding. I mean, we've worked on this for months. We've often been bidding as much as $20 per click, and this is on like a maybe $30 product or something. And still, Amazon won't give us many impressions. And yeah, and so there are times when it's really hard to break in. I mean, this is the most extreme example of this that I'm aware of, but there are plenty of other less extreme ones where it can be really hard to get the impressions, and you have to bid really, really high to even start getting impressions. And even then, even with good conversion rates, your impressions may still be, Amazon still might not give you many of them. Yeah. And so sometimes you just have to have the stamina to keep at it and hope that as you keep at it, that the situation will improve. How the situation, in the sense that Amazon's algorithm, that you'll at some point hit something that Amazon's algorithm sees more favorably, and you get a bit of a boost up, and then you keep going and you get a bit of a boost up again, somewhat randomly. Like, could be this boost up comes from your competitor going out of stock. And then once that happens, you're able to get in and you prove yourself to Amazon's algorithm, and so you can, you don't necessarily fall back down once the competitor comes back into stock.
So what about in terms of rule of thumb? Like, when you look at, I'll give you a silly example. Like, I can't see anyone nowadays going, okay, let's run PPC campaigns to help with organic ranking on the search term headphones. You've got to be nuts to pretty much do that.
Yeah, we've even seen headphones as a good example of where it might actually be better to be middle of page rather than top of page.
Yeah.
And I might as well comment on this because it's a really interesting case, and that is what what you might find is that if you're not one of the top brands or cheapest products at the top of the page, then those are the ones that are going to be getting the higher conversion rate. But let's say you have a more expensive product and not such a hot brand name, then you might get better conversion rate middle of page, because the people who are most likely to buy your products are the ones who are not wanting to buy the top brand or the cheapest. Yeah. So that's a case where it's actually, I mean, it's an example of the type of keyword where you might well not want top of search. I'm sorry, I got off track. I don't remember what.
Well, no, it's just I was using extreme examples of where not to. But if someone's to do it in kind of layman's terms, they've got a product and they've got a set of keywords. This product does 100 units a day. This keyword on the, on that keyword, this other product does 50 units a day and then 30 units a day. Where would you, in layman's terms, look at that to say, okay, what I've got to think about is my cost of goods. I've got to think landing costs. I've got to think of all of these different aspects to spend over the period of time, the percentage of PPC sales ratio to organic sales, and how do I manage that shift and then taper off at the end to maximize on that launch? So is there any kind of key factors that you would look at outside of writing calculations like you do, but generally?
Yeah, so it's a really important topic.
I'll put you on the spot, I know, but yeah.
it's hard to answer because oftentimes you can't know ahead of time.
No,
and so what you have to do is you try the campaigns, and you might find that Amazon won't give you the impressions for it. And it's because, and it's much more, and with really high volume keywords, you're likely to be in that situation with a new product that you can barely get top of search impressions, or you'll absolutely get no top of search impressions. And if you're only getting a few and you're getting some clicks, but the number of sales that you end up getting generated off of this is too low to, to make a difference for your organic ranking, then don't do it. It's better to invest in, shift that spend into longer tail keywords and see where can you get the impressions that make the difference so that you can get enough sales that that help you rise above the sales of the competitors, at least up to a certain point. Maybe you don't need to get to rank 1, maybe rank 10 is just fine for you, but you need to be able to see, you can kind of see how many sales might they be getting off of this keyword, and is the impressions that Amazon's giving me, is that going to get me there? And the impressions will tend to increase over a period of time. This may be 3 days, it may be 2 weeks, it may be 4 weeks. And once you see the plateaus, or the impressions plateauing, then you might make a decision about, well, is it worth it? Do I want to bid more, try to get more impressions? Or now that it's plateaued, what's this kind of steady state situation I'm in? And kind of, am I getting steady sales? And will that help me with my organic ranking? And so you have to make a smart choice about which words to go after to begin with. You try them out, and once the impressions plateau, you make the next decision about whether to continue with it or to shift to other keywords.
Cool. We've got a couple of questions from the audience here. Cybe's back again. Do factors such as amount of inventory and location of the inventory influence position and impressions? Dr. Yev Marisenko has done a lot of work on this, and you agree as well. I do.
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question there, Si. And Michael says, Ellis, would you agree that sponsored products are the way to prove your conversion rate? And it may help you for your organic rankings, ? But if your product does not perform by SP worse than your competitors, it may also harm your organic rankings. Would you agree that it's not PPC itself improving your organic ranking, but mainly the conversion rate?
Well, these two factors, conversion rates and sales. And, we could go into, is it sales? Is it orders? Is it buy box? Or not buy box, is it shopping basket, putting it in the shopping basket, that sort of thing. But let's just keep it simple and say sales. And so, yes, it's through. So from all that I can see, the organic ranking does not know whether these orders came through ads or not. And so if you have a good conversion rate and you're generating enough sales at a good conversion rate, then that's a big bonus for your organic ranking. And if you have a bad conversion rate, then then you're probably going to not be helping your organic ranking. Might not hurt it, but it's not going to be able to, you're not going to rise up like you used to. And interestingly enough, for whatever reason, and I don't know what's wrong with their algorithm, for the ad placement algorithm, a good conversion rate normally helps you get more impressions, but there are so many exceptions. It's a little bit incomprehensible.
Cool. I think we covered quite a lot of ground there. So is there anything we want to wrap on here?
Nope. I think we covered it too.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I'd like to talk about sessions, percentages, etc. It'd be good to get your take on that, because you said how out of whack they are, and also the relationship between that and PPC, or lack thereof, in terms of we'll say that for another show, but maybe we'll get that planned in for next week, because I think there is some confusion there that we could pick apart, and other people in the community can help out on that as well.
Well, I'm actually getting my second COVID shot next week. I think I will probably be out about this time. So put that off another week or something.
Yeah. We'll put it out for a couple of weeks. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us today. Ellis, thank you for joining us. Sharon will be back here.
My pleasure.
Tomorrow. Isa will be here on Monday. I'll be back here Tuesday and Wednesday, as always. Take care of yourself and your family. Much love, and I'll see you soon.
Take care, everyone.